My name is Keaton Andersen, and I'm a Senior Manager of Customer Solutions with Avnet. I'm going to walk through IoT Connect today and talk about why we feel it's the easiest way to connect all devices to the cloud. But before I dive too deep into IoT Connect, let's quickly talk about Avnet. Avnet is a global electronics distributor. We've been around since 1921. We have employees worldwide. You may have even seen us on the Fortune 500 before. And I think if you typically tend to think of Avnet, you probably know us best for our supply chain services. And that's true. It's some of our bread and butter. We've been doing that well for over 100 years. But one of the things that we're most proud of is that over the past 10 years or so, we've made some strategic acquisitions of companies like SoftWeb Solutions, Witekio, Tria, which give us some capabilities that we've not had before. So now instead of just doing parts logistics, we can offer things like embedded software or cloud and digital design. And why we need these capabilities is because IoT has a wide range of devices, manufacturers, and apps required to make a solution work. So let's look at just the smart home space for just a moment. To make an IoT solution function, you will need hardware and firmware, a cloud provider like AWS, and some sort of user interface or backend framework to support it. So to get something like a Philips Hue bulb connected, you will need a Wi-Fi chip on the bulb to communicate with the Philips cloud built on AWS, and then you'll need to give an app to give the user control of the bulb. And that's just to control one item. If you wanted to be able to do a true smart home full integration, you would need connectors into manufacturers' clouds to help support the control of their devices, which is where AWS device management managed integrations that Olivier talked about earlier comes into play. We're going to demonstrate some of this today. And as part of that demonstration, Avnet has collaborated with our systems to help showcase an example of what full smart home control could look like. Our system developed the connectors for these services and is helping us highlight how the new managed integration service can be leveraged to greatly extend the reach and capabilities of apps built to control and automate smart home devices. So as you can see, smart home solutions require multiple device types and device makers to create a complete solution. And this is where IoT Connect comes in. So what is IoT Connect? IoT Connect is a SaaS IoT development platform that helps simplify the development and deployment of IoT solutions. So for a smart home example, IoT Connect takes smart home devices like a connected light bulb or a home EV charger, and it simplifies the way that you can control and monitor facets of these like the brightness of the bulb or the charging rate of the EV. And it does this by creating a single pane of glass web experience to help negotiate and manage device communication with the cloud. With IoT Connect, you can do things like manage your devices and set up AI-enabled home automation rules. And how IoT Connect does this is by utilizing AWS services to create a single front-end experience. So just as an example of some of the AWS services that we utilize, you can see IoT Connect uses RDS, IoT Core, including Sidewalk and LoRaWAN, Greengrass, S3, and Lambda, just to name a few. But what we are most excited about today is that we have added support for AWS device management managed integrations that is in preview. What this creates is a single interface for AWS IoT services that can navigate a wide variety of device types. So in the smart home example that we are about to show, you can see that IoT Connect can utilize managed integrations to connect to smart home devices like connected light bulbs, robot vacuums, smart blinds, you name it. IoT Connect becomes the simplest way to connect, manage, and securely deploy all device types. Let me flip over to IoT Connect so you can see it in action. So when you first drop into IoT Connect, this is an example of what the base development dashboard is going to look like. And you see we have some relevant information, things like device to cloud messages, the number of entities and users, the device counter. But one thing I did want to quickly caveat is that what you're looking at right now is intended to be mostly a development and onboarding section. Your end users, if they go to engage with IoT Connect, everything's going to be done through our APIs. So you can see those are available here. And you'll end up building some sort of web app or interface or a mobile app over the top. So just keep that in mind while I'm showing this. All the features I showcase are available through our APIs, but the end interface is going to look very different than what you're looking at right now. With that though, let's go ahead and create a quick dashboard to be able to test out some of our smart home features. So I'm going to go ahead and just do a quick test dashboard. And what we have is a dynamic dashboarding capability where you can be able to drag and drop different widgets. So let's do just a quick device counter to be able to track the number of devices. Let's go ahead and pull in, say, a device tracker to see where they're located. Maybe I need an image. I wanted to be able to do, say, a Grafana dashboard. And maybe I want to be able to do some level of control. So in this example, you could see I could set up a quick button or a switch if I wanted to be able to. So once I'm happy with this dashboard, and it's just a quick example, I'm going to go ahead and click Save. And this will pull in all those widgets and start to adapt them to the devices that I've set up. So I've not gone in and told this what devices to look at, but I'm going to pull another dashboard up later that's more fleshed out. There's a couple other things that you can do here. So one, you can create a shareable link. So if you wanted to be able to showcase the device features, you can be able to just go ahead and create that link and share it out. That does not require an IoT Connect login. So it's a very easy way to review a dashboard that you've done to demo different devices without having to have someone be signed up for IoT Connect. Additionally, you can be able to go in and export this dashboard. So if you wanted to be able to then import it later or have someone be able to test out the exact features that you've done, that's how you would be able to do so. Let's go ahead and take a look at entities. So entities are the way that we do segmentation. So in this example, I'm going to showcase a smart home example. So I've set up my home here and I've set up 3 floors on it. So you'll see I have a basement level, a main level, and an upstairs. And I have different devices that can be able to be associated with that. One thing to note about IoT Connect is while I am showing smart home based on the webinar that we're talking about today, IoT Connect is a fully industrial ready platform. So this example is going to go through levels that could be done on a single home, but you could also think of these as floors in a manufacturing plant, and you can add subzones to each of those, or you could be able to do geo sublocations. So if you wanted to be able to have, say, an office in New York, Paris, Denver, different places, you could be able to segment by location as well. I can be able to go and apply different updates to those devices based on their locations, or I can set rules based on that as well. So I'm going to showcase that in a little bit, that maybe if I wanted to be able to have it where I apply a movie mode to my main level, it'll make changes to all the devices in that segmentation. So just think of it as zones from a particular, how you've done apps in the past. Next, let's take a look at users. So we do have a way to be able to do roles and permissions. So in this case, you're going to see I'm the homeowner, and I've just made it where I have access to every solution that I would need. When you're thinking about this from an OEM perspective, this does allow you to be able to set the most or give the priority of updates to whatever member of your team is working on it. So if you needed to be able to update just the firmware and have a single person doing so, you can change the permissions access based on what the user type looks like. So it's a really easy way to be able to set up multiple roles and permissions as you're creating your kind of account. All right, next I want to talk about devices. And this is where I'm going to jump into my device management. So the AWS device management, managed integrations. I'm going to go ahead and showcase that. So you can see that button's up here. I will come back and talk a little bit more about these devices here in a second. So let's go ahead and click into this device management. And I showed this earlier, but I wanted to show how easy it is to connect your Philips Hue account. As I do, I wanted to say thank you again to our systems who created this cloud-to-cloud connector. The process to link accounts with IoT Connect is quick and easy because of the work that they did to enable it. As you can see, all I have to do is click Grant Permission, and now I have 2 bulbs showing up associated with my Hue account. So after you get these bulbs connected, I want to be able to showcase how you can use IoT Connect to be able to control them. So in this example, I have 2 bulbs. My left bulb is going to be bulb 1, and my right bulb is going to be bulb 2. So I'm going to just issue a couple of quick commands to them. And in the bottom right-hand corner, you can see that I've included a camera feed to be able to make it easier to see what's happening to them. So let's go ahead and start by turning off one of the bulbs. So I'm going to go ahead. We'll do this. We're going to turn the left bulb off. So you can see that that worked. Let's go ahead and turn that right bulb off as well. So now both bulbs are off. Let's go ahead and turn the right one back on. You can see that that worked. And let's go ahead and then send a command to change the brightness on that one. So we're going to first start by dimming it a little bit. So it's dimmed down. Now let's go ahead and turn that back up a bit more. And then last but not least, let's go ahead and increase that brightness to the full. Perfect. Okay, so let's do the same thing for the other one. Let's go ahead and turn this bulb off. And now we're going to flip over to our left bulb. We'll turn that one on. Okay, so you can see that has come on. I'm going to go ahead and change the brightness on that one as well. So let's go ahead and turn it to something a little lower. And let's increase that a bit more. And then last but not least, let's turn this one up to full brightness as well. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and turn the right bulb back on. All right, and now we are ready to play with a little bit of color. So I'm going to start with this right bulb. Let's go ahead and change it to a green, nice and fluorescent. You can see that one's updated. Let's go ahead and change that left bulb. So I'm going to go ahead and change that to, let's make that a nice purple. Slide that over. Okay, perfect. And let's go ahead and update this one now. Let's go from, say, Hulk colors to Captain America. So let's go ahead and change that to a dark blue. Nice. And then let's go ahead and change the other one to a red. Very nice. And then going from Captain America, let's do, say, Iron Man. So I'll make this one yellow. And last but not least, let's go ahead and change that left bulb to red. Easy enough. So as you can see, it's easy for us to be able to go in and control the bulbs, change their color, be able to turn them on and off. But what you really want to be able to do with this is to be able to control multiple different smart home devices. So let me talk about a couple of the other device types that we have available within IoT Connect. So let me click out of my Philips Hue screen and go back to my list of devices. So here you'll see that IoT Connect supports a really wide range of devices. We can start with things that are just basic devices that send data to the cloud, but we also have support for things like AWS IoT Greengrass, LoRaWAN, Sidewalk. Really, if it can be connected to IoT Connect can work with it. So let me talk about this from a smart home perspective. So let's take a look at some of the devices that we have connected. So I have some smart lights that I have connected, some smart blinds, a smart thermostat. But I want to quickly talk about this water sensor based on an application that happened to me a couple years ago. So in this, I've set up a sensor template that goes and has a couple of different parameters that we're looking at. So in this case, it has a voltage check that looks on the outlet to say, is the outlet still working? And additionally, it goes to check the temperature because where I live, it potentially can freeze within the basement. And last but not least, there's a Boolean value that says true or false for how I detected water. And what you'll notice here is that I do have a little rule that's associated with it. So let me quickly showcase a command before I jump into a rule. So as part of a template where you can set up what kind of parameters you're looking for a device, you also can issue certain commands. So in this case, I have a power off command that if something's detected, then I can go ahead and shut certain things off. So with that, I want to jump into rules real quick. So let's take a look. So I have two different rules. I have one that is called an outlet trip. So just quick on this, I had an outlet in my basement that was constantly tripping over the past couple years where my sump pump would overcurrent that would cause the whole thing to shut down. And it became potentially very dangerous because it could have flooded the basement. So in this example, you'll see that I have it where if my device becomes disconnected from an outlet trip, I'm going to use IoT Connect to notify me as the user that something has happened. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and if the device has been offline for 3 minutes, I'm going to notify the homeowner, which is me, that something's happened. And then I'm going to go ahead and do a push alert to let me know that, hey, something has occurred and I need to go and check that outlet. So IoT Connect has a built-in rules engine that you can use to be able to create smart rules associated with your devices. Additionally, I also have a water detect rule. So let's say that that outlet is still working fine, but now I've detected that the water is true. I'm going to do a similar thing. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and do a push notification. IoT Connect has a fully robust industrial platform. So if maybe this was a predictive maintenance example and you needed to be able to just send an email to a supervisor or do something else, you can see that there's a wide variety of different things that I can do. Additionally, I can also issue a device command. So if I wanted to be able to go in and do that power off command, I can do so. So that's one example of how you could be able to use smart home devices and do a control mechanism associated with them to really engage with your home as a whole. Another example that you might look at here is if I have a button that I've enabled within my user interface, I might issue commands to a whole set of devices across my thing. So if I have, let's take a look at my devices again. So maybe when I push the button, it's movie mode. I want to be able to go in and change the brightness on these smart light bulbs. And additionally, I want to be able to control a smart vacuum. So we could be able to make multiple changes within IoT Connect based on the device sets that we've created. So with that, let me just quickly showcase what an example dashboard that I might be doing while demoing could look like. I wanted to just quickly showcase this dashboard that a colleague of mine built around a residential EV charging demo. And when I had gone through dynamic dashboards earlier, I hadn't taken the time to do any coloring or move the objects. So this is an example of what can be quickly spun up as you're testing different devices. So here you can see we have a banner bar with some labels, we have a gauge chart, we can even have moving objects and videos. And I think it's important to note that, again, as I mentioned earlier, if your customers are going to engage with your end devices, they'll likely do so through a mobile app or a web application, and our APIs are available right here. But this is something that you could spin up very quickly as you're testing it and be able to showcase your smart home devices in a very rapid manner. Thanks again for watching our webinar. We hope that you learned a little bit about how smart home devices can be accelerated with IoT Connect and AWS managed integrations. On the screen, I've included the QR code for the IoT Connect listing on the AWS Marketplace. If you go and sign up for a free trial of IoT Connect, make sure that you select Smart Home in the applications or technologies that you're most interested in. That will ensure you're one of the first ones to get public access whenever these integrations become available within the next 3 months. These will include the R Systems integration that we talked about earlier, as well as some future ones like TP-Link. We hope you enjoyed today, and thanks again.